another little man.
The fault, dear Brutus.
Liftoff. The clock has started.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America. Trayvon Martin could have been me. I'm the president.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
The National Oven is set to broil, and you can smell the BS from BS News for this Friday, the 19th of July, 2013, and away we go. Dateline, groundless. This week in the wake of the Zimmerman verdict, opponents of Stand Your Ground laws vowed to repeal those laws. Supporters of Stand Your Ground laws pointed out that under the current laws, they have the right to kill anyone who tries. Dateline, book 'em. Zimmerman trial juror B37's appearance on CNN caused such an outcry that she lost her deal to write a book about her experience as a juror. No problem. If I want to read a book by somebody who's justifying monumental mistakes, I can always read George Bush's decision points. Can't I? Doing a heck of a job. Dateline, Perry Mayhem. After the verdict, George Zimmerman reportedly told friends that he now wants to become a lawyer. Nice, George. You picked the only thing you could do that would make people hate you even more. Dateline, Ted Pungent. Ted Nugent this week called Trayvon Martin, quote, a dope-smoking racist gangsta wannabe, causing even one right-wing group to say Ted Nugent needs to back off and realize how hurtful he is being. That statement came from the Westboro Baptist Church. Can't we all just get along? Finally, Dateline expectations. Federal researchers announced that black people in America now have a life expectancy that is 4 years less than that of white people. Wait, there's more. That is the lowest the gap in life expectancy has ever been. But experts say that it might rise dramatically now that George Zimmerman has been acquitted. We need a very cold adult beverage, and after this week, we need it very quickly. We're closing in on Beer Bucket Special O'Clock. BS News for Friday. Have a great weekend.
Woo-hoo. Wow, it's been like crazy 2 weeks is what it is. This is like, it's gut-wrenching and, work-intensive, but it's just gut-wrenching work. It's just... And the more you look into this, the sicker you get. The more your stomach flips, and the more you get a lump in your throat, and the more you cry, and the more you just sit there and go, how am I going to let people know? This is the first thing I want you to know. You remember when the jury was sequestered? Well, apparently the jurors were left unsupervised with family members at times. This ought to answer the question, how did juror B37 have a book deal waiting for her upon being unsequestered? How did that happen? Her husband was an attorney, and they had family visits. They had time alone with friends and family. A local TV station here in Florida, Channel 9, did an interview and confirmed that jurors were left unsupervised with their guests at times, which the local TV station, WFTV legal analyst Bill Schieffer said is more than enough time for a member to have said something that could have influenced a juror and possibly impacted the verdict. He said, allowing sequestered jurors to have unsupervised visits invites criticisms and questions over the integrity of the verdict. It only takes 2 seconds for an inappropriate comment to be made to a juror by a family member, inadvertently or otherwise, to affect the verdict and how they look at the case. But it's up to the judge. It's up to the judge. And, of course, we know that the judge in this case allowed for Trayvon's drug use to come in, but nothing about George Zimmerman. Nothing about... She let a character witness come and say, oh, there were 2 black guys that, rang my doorbell, and one of them was jiggling my doorknob, and I had to go hide in a bedroom. And good old George came by afterward and asked me if I needed a special lock on my back door. In fact, he called me 20 times, which is creepy and weird. But remember I made a big deal about the rebuttal case? And remember I was telling you that I knew who the rebuttal witnesses were going to be, but I couldn't figure out I knew their names. One was named David Lee, and of course when I Google him, all I get is David Lee Roth. That's all I get is like Van Halen results, right? And I looked and looked for days and days. I could not figure out who this David Lee guy was. I know who he is now. And the other guy was a guy named Arthur Fleischman, who I was able to figure out was the arresting officer. He's an ATF agent. He's the agent that George Zimmerman resisted with violence in 2005. Now, the prosecution decided not to have their rebuttal case. And I kept saying, if I were the prosecutor and this man killed a child, there is no way I would give up a moment in front of the jury or have the last word in front of the jury. And, of course, the prosecution didn't have a rebuttal case. They chose not to. They brought the gymnasium guy, and they tried to elicit a testimony from him that he was, advertising that you, too, could be a George Zimmerman if you went to his gym and took the same training George Zimmerman took. So they were trying to, show that he wasn't credible about how George Zimmerman is soft. But they were also going to bring these two others, the arresting officer in 2005 and this guy, David Lee. And I couldn't figure out who the hell is David Lee. Turns out David Lee is a Florida law enforcement special agent who knew about Witness 9. Who the hell is Witness 9? Witness 9, according to the Christian Science Monitor, Witness 9 is the cousin of George Zimmerman who accused George of sexually molesting her from the time she was 6 to the time she was 20 and called the police way before this became a national story, way before the protests for Zimmerman's arrest, way before anybody knew anything about this case. She knew that George Zimmerman had been arrested and let go for the murder of Trayvon Martin days after, it happened. And she decided to do a sit-down with the police investigators and tell them who George Zimmerman was.
Where were you at this time when you were remembering 6 years old?
We would watch movies in front of the TV and all of that. We would all lay in front of the TV and we would have pillows and blankets.
This was in...
Yes.
Okay.
And he would reach under the blankets and try to do things, and I would try to push him off, but he was bigger and stronger and older. And it was in front of everybody, and I don't know how I didn't say anything, but I just didn't know any better.
Witness number 9. Mark O'Mara fought to keep her testimony out of this case. He wrote a motion that said that her disclosure would lead to widespread hostile publicity, which would substantially impair George Zimmerman's fair trial rights. At the time, the judge who ended up hearing this case was not the judge. The circuit judge was Ken Lester. He was presiding over the case. He ordered these tapes and documents to be released under our public records law. But Mark O'Mara, in the 11th hour, stopped the release of the statement, filing a motion 4 minutes before the prosecutors were scheduled to release this audio recording. And then back in 2012, he also filed a motion requesting that Judge Lester recuse himself, arguing that Judge Lester has a bias. Isn't that fascinating? George Zimmerman has no biases, but the judge had a bias against George Zimmerman. And that if Lester heard the case, George Zimmerman would not have had a fair trial. And Lester was removed from the case. But these are the tapes that he released to the public.
Did he put his finger inside you?
Yes. And there were other times that he did things too, but he would always call them. You know, before we left the room or left any place, he would say, we weren't doing anything, we were just laying down, or we were just playing hide and seek. he would always make sure that he told me that. And I didn't know. I was a kid. I didn't know any better. And at one time I told my sister, and I thought I was telling them, because they asked, what were you guys doing? And I said, I didn't know. And I said, we were laying down. And I thought that I was telling them. And they just ignored it. And I just went to sleep crying because I didn't know better.
Witness number 9, who could testify to the character of George Zimmerman. She could also testify to his demeanor. She could also testify to the racism that was in that family. She could have also testified to how she was afraid of him. She could also testify to the fact that she's still suffering from flashbacks from what he did to her, that he would make everybody love him, and that her parents actually confronted him. After all these years, her parents finally confronted George. They all went to lunch. George came in. All he did was sit down and say, "I'm so sorry," or "I'm sorry for what I did to you," and left. But Mark O'Mara thought that was irrelevant, but that the neighbor girl, who George Zimmerman was going to put a lock on her door but called her 20 times, was the proper character witness. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't that something? And Mark O'Mara also was able to get Judge Lester removed from the case. He also sealed 145 of George Zimmerman's jailhouse phone calls, where him and his wife are talking in code about what bills to pay with the donated money for his defense, and then lied about it to Judge Lester. Holy crap. 17 after.
Randy Rhodes.
Cutting through the bullshit. This is the Randi Rhodes Show.
This is Michelle Jackson, and you're listening to the all-new RadioMonterey.com.
Hey, it's everyone's favorite meat game. Swap! Judy, spin the meat wheel. You landed on New York steak. Well, you can keep the steak or swap it for the New York pork chop.
Yes, I'll swap it.
Way to go, Judy. You've won delicious pork and great value on
Swap!
Find affordable and swap-worthy pork recipes at porkbeinspired.com. Pork, be inspired. This message funded by America's pork producers and the Pork Checkoff.
I'm Jim Cook, brewer of Samuel Adams. Why is Boston Lager loved by beer drinkers? Maybe it's the deep amber color, or the head so thick you could float a bottle cap, or maybe it's just a freaking good beer.
Feeling good today. When do you crave refreshing iced tea? Twisted Tea wants to know. The next time you want that same satisfying refreshment, but with a kick, grab a Twisted Tea, the refreshing hard iced tea that tastes like real iced tea.
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Drink responsibly.
Are you living with pain? Joint pain, backaches, muscle aches? I was. I'm Barry Yarkoni, CEO of Vinaprin, the fast-acting, all-natural pain reliever derived from hops, the plant used to flavor beer. It relieves pain without the dangerous side effects.
I had pain lying down, discomfort sitting up in a chair, and shooting pain. The relief I have gotten with Vinaprin is amazing. I'm walking around, I have no pain, and thanks to this Vinaprin, I have regained my quality of life.
The pain goes away. It's not harming my liver or my kidneys.
And within 30 minutes, I felt fantastic. It worked. Vinaprin worked.
Don't live with pain an extra minute. Call us right now at 800-700-8010. You'll feel better in 1 hour, guaranteed. Call 800-700-8010 and ask about our free trial offers. That's 800-700-8010. Or visit our website at vinaprin.com. That's VINOPRIN.com.
Are you looking for an honest, experienced, skillful, and reasonably priced jeweler? Then you're looking for Chavez Jewelry Design in Watsonville. With over 120 years of combined experience, the helpful staff at Chavez Jewelry Design knows exactly what it's doing. Whether you wish to repair a precious heirloom, rework an existing piece, or help design a custom-made work of art, Chavez Jewelry Design has you covered.
To learn more about Chavez Jewelry Design, click on the sponsors page at KRXA540.com.
Hi, I'm Audrey Williams.
And I'm Melvin Williams.
Check out our new show, Holy Hip Hop on the Block, every Saturday from 10 to 12 noon, right here on KRXA 540 AM.
Check us out.
Have you been injured on the job? Has your spouse, partner, or parent died while working? If the answer to either of these questions is yes, and you have not received benefits or are dissatisfied with those offered, you need a lawyer who specializes in workers' compensation claims. For 25 years, the law office of Vic R. Radula has represented injured workers so that they get what they deserve. For caring legal experts, call Salinas-based attorneys Vic Radula and his son Jason at 753-9127 or click on RadulaLawOffice.com. Making a false or fraudulent workers' compensation claim is a felony subject to up to 5 years in prison or a fine of up to $50,000 or double the value of the fraud, whichever is greater, or by both imprisonment and fine.
To Randi. It's Randi Rhodes on Premier Radio Networks.
Every time that we would go up there, I could just look at him, and he would give me a certain look, and I would know if it was going to happen when we got together for family gatherings. Because he just got this look in his eye like he was going to.
So did you go up to visit often? How many times a year would you say?
At least once a year. We would take trips together. There were times where, I mean, it's not just me that he did these things to, but I know that she would never come forward.
You said? What is her name?
Can't give her. She said she would deny it either way.
Have you discussed it with her? I mean,
a few years back, and she told us flat out, I'm not saying it. I'll deny it. If anybody ever brings it up, I'm telling them I didn't. It never happened.
This is 2 days after the shooting. 2 days after the shooting. This is well before the weeks of the protests. This is well before anybody knew about this case. And you know who she went in to talk to? She wanted to talk to the lead investigator, Chris Serino. And the police chief, Bill Lee, who's no longer the police chief either, he was the head of the major crimes unit, who said he did not have the sufficient evidence to arrest Zimmerman. So she is sitting there in the station speaking with another officer. They wouldn't let her talk to Chris Serino. They wouldn't let her talk to Bill Lee. So she's sitting in there talking to Officer Perkins. That's who's interviewing her here.
Every time that we would go up there, and all the times that I ever saw him, I'm one of those people, I want to believe that everyone is good and that people will change. And I wanted it to just stop. I didn't want to ever have to tell anyone, because I didn't want to be broken up. I didn't want to be sad, and Georgie always made himself look so good. He just sucked up to my dad, and he was like the son he never had. And he always was just, very charming and personable with everybody in the family, and just always would laugh and entertain everybody. But he was different behind closed doors with me.
How come Sean Hannity didn't ask him about that? How come he didn't ask Zimmerman about all the girls, back in Sanford that, have accused him of molesting them, sexually abusing them? Such an unbelievable, part of his life, and yet Sean Hannity wasn't interested in that part of his life. No. This is just bizarre. It's sickening. And why would she do this? This is way before anybody outside of Sanford, Florida, knew anything about this case. Frank in Canoga Park, California.
You know, I was wondering whether or not there's a chance of overturning the verdict.
No, when you're innocent, that's it.
Oh, that's it. Because there's so much discrepancies appearing after the fact, and the fact.
But that's why it's important that the feds look into this case and figure out whether or not this man, not only was a child molester, but whether or not this man was feared by Trayvon Martin. Because it's so funny, because that is what Rachel Jantel, said when she was talking about it. She was saying maybe he's a rapist, maybe he's a pedophile.
Well, there's a possibility, but the thing is, since you're so concise and you've organized everything, why don't you, as a friend of the court, put all these points that you've made public to your listeners, send them to the Justice Department to help them scrutinize the case, because I don't assume the Justice Department is smart. I don't care. You might bring out a point that they overlook. I don't assume anybody is smart, because you can't think of 100 different issues at one time. And you could overlook many things that are more important than other things. But if you could do that would be wonderful, because I don't know how smart, like I said, I don't know how smart the people they have looking into the case, and you've examined it backwards and forwards. As far as I'm concerned, the guy is guilty, because I've been robbed 6 times at gunpoint. And when Zimmerman says he was feared of his life, I mean, who's got the gun?
Yeah, I know.
It's like, obviously, and the fact that the first judge excused himself, he should never have excused himself. I don't know why he did that.
No. He was told to step down. He was told. Mark O'Mara argued for him to not be the judge in the case, and he won.
Yeah, because he sounded like the most intelligent of all of them. The judge that handled the case should have censored O'Mara, and she never did that. She warned him, but she never did anything about it. And maybe some people should file a complaint.
I told you, that. People were saying, people are going to riot and all that. And I said, you know what? I'm frightened that this guy, if he gets acquitted, is going to be back out there with his gun and, right. a long history of violence. And,
Not only that, he has a restraining order, so why is he allowed?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's got a long history of violence. I mean, he obviously got a restraining order. His fiancée got a restraining order against him. And what was his reaction to that? He blamed her for making him mad and got a restraining order against her. He assaulted a police officer with violence, but he went to an alcohol and anger management program, a court diversion program, so that the charges would be reduced to resisting without violence.
Randi. Rhodes.
Turn up your mind. Here. Now. This is the Randi Rhodes Show.
If you're a victim of a car accident, whether it was recent or a while ago, and you still suffer pain from injuries sustained in that accident, then call Phil Kaler, who's been a healthcare provider for over 40 years and just celebrated his 4th decade. Phil specializes in treating car accident victims with acupuncture, advanced massage therapy, and health coaching. Plus, Phil even teaches classes on how to minimize the effects of your pain. Get that much-needed relief and call Phil Kaler today at 359-4223 for a free consultation, as he accepts most medical insurance plans as well. So get that relief and call Phil Kaler at 359-4223. That's 359-4223.
If you're struggling with your mortgage, get help at shortsalerealtorhelp.com. They can help you lower your monthly payments through a loan modification or sell your home, even if you owe more than what it's worth, and possibly even get you thousands of dollars at the end of escrow. So log on to shortsalerealtorhelp.com or call 831-684-2000. That's 684-2000.
Hey, this is Hal, and you know how much I love to bicycle. That's why I was so delighted when I discovered Easy Racer's recumbents 8 years ago. When I got into my early 40s because of neck and back pain, I thought I could never ride a bicycle again. But Easy Racer's recumbents are perfect for those of us with spinal cord injuries. I'm again commuting, shopping, and exercising by bike. I can get up any hill, and my Easy Racer's Gold Rush looks practically brand new. I think it's indestructible. For fast, light, durable, fun, healthy, and affordable, custom-made 2-wheel and 3-wheel recumbent bicycles, make your next call to hands-on President Denton Kutsia of Easy Racers. Call Denton at 831-722-9797. That's 722-9797. Or simply browse to EasyRacers.com. Easy Racers adds years to your life and life to your years.
This is the Media Matters Minute. I'm Hillary Tone. On Fox & Friends, Fox Business host Stuart Varney reported on a deal reached by a bipartisan group of senators to avert a short-term hike in the interest rates students pay for federally subsidized loans. During this segment, Varney misleadingly claimed that subsidizing federal student loans costs taxpayers.
We've rolled back the recent spike. But to answer your question, we have not solved the underlying problem, which is we're subsidizing all of these loans at great cost to the taxpayer. We have not solved the problem of the very high cost and rising cost of college, and we haven't solved the problem of highly indebted students leaving college with a load of debt around their neck.
While the rising cost of college and high debt levels for graduates are a serious problem, the fact is, according to the Congressional Budget Office, subsidized student loans do not cost the federal government any money. In fact, just this week, USA Today reported that the May 2013 CBO projection about the federal student loan program showed that the government could expect, quote, a record $50 billion profit on student loans this year. For more on this and other stories, please visit MediaMatters.org.
This is Richard, host of The Richard Fowler Show. When we created our show, it was about informing you, empowering you, and helping you get your voice back. And now it is no different. Listen to our show each and every Saturday night from 9 to 11 p.m. on Monterey's own KRXA 540 AM. Think for yourself.
Shift your life easily and permanently with Theta Healing Benefits Radio Show. Theta Healing is deep work that allows you to discover hidden beliefs or programs that are the cause of lack of wholeness, health, and prosperity.
Money started coming in. I have noticed friendships have turned around and become great. And I have noticed the calm peacefulness of living in the moment, which is priceless, kind of where everyone wants to be.
Theta Healing Benefits, Saturdays at 6 p.m. only on KRXA.
You're listening to Randy Rhodes on Premier Radio Networks.
You know, there are times in which the problems at hand are beyond our control, and this is one of those times. The European economic crisis is placing a great strain on the American economy and is threatening U.S. financial markets, and that's why you should call ITM Trading right now at 1-888-OWN-GOLD, 1-888-OWN-GOLD, and get their free exclusive report, Weathering the European Economic Storm. Call 1-888-OWN-GOLD, 1-888-OWN-GOLD for your free exclusive report, Weathering the European Economic Storm. This exclusive report gives you the real story behind what's threatening the collapse of the euro, how the failing economies of Greece, Spain, Ireland, Portugal, and others may send financial shockwaves throughout Europe and Asia and even the United States. Find out why German bailouts and French intervention may not be enough to avoid a European financial meltdown that could be a disaster for U.S. markets. Call 1-888-OWN-GOLD, 1-888-OWN-GOLD. This is so amazing. This witness number 9 who was suppressed by the defense attorneys so that we never got to hear her testimony about the character or what George Zimmerman, did to her. We never got to hear any of this about him. And what's fascinating about her is not only did she come forward so quickly, but she gave many interviews. She gave at least 2 interviews that I know of to the police. And at first she didn't want to give her name, but then she said she came forward because she was afraid that George Zimmerman may have done something because the kid was black. She told the police that when the 2 of them were growing up, the Zimmerman family, and particularly Gladys Zimmerman, his mother, quote, made statements that they don't like black people. She said the family only likes black people if they act white. Other than that, they say a lot of bad things about black people. Now, that might get, included when the Civil Rights Division at the Justice Department looks into all the evidence, all the testimony. But I don't know. But listen, when you listen to this witness number 9, who is George Zimmerman's little cousin, when you listen to her describe him, he sounds like a serial killer.
In all the times that I ever saw him, I'm one of those people, I want to believe that everyone is good and that people will change. And I wanted it to just stop. I didn't want to ever have to tell anyone, because I didn't want them to be broken up. I didn't want to be sad. And George, he always made himself look so good. He just sucked up to my dad, and he was like the son he never had. And he always was just, very charming and personable with everybody in the family, and just always would laugh and entertain everybody. But he was different behind closed doors with me.
Now, I'm wondering, remember the uncle that testified? I'm wondering if that is her father. Remember when George Zimmerman, the only time George Zimmerman teared up in the entire trial was when his uncle testified. And his uncle said, told this crazy story about how his nephew had just been arrested for shooting an unarmed black kid. It was all over the news up there in Sanford, Florida. And his uncle testified that he wasn't paying any attention to this case. I don't know if you remember his uncle or not. He wasn't paying any attention to this case. He was sitting in front of his computer one day, and his computer faced a wall, and behind him was the television set. And he said he just heard the screaming on the TV as they were playing the 911 tapes, and he looked at his wife and he said, "That's George. Why is George on the TV?" Because he wasn't paying any attention to the fact that this nephew of his had just been arrested. He wasn't paying any attention. And I'm wondering if that uncle, whose testimony made George Zimmerman cry, is witness number 9's father.
I didn't know what to do. I wanted it to stop, but I didn't know how to make it stop. And he told me to lay down on the bed, and I did. And he said that he was going to give me a massage. So he sat on my back, and he started rubbing my back. And then he started rubbing my chest. And when he leaned down to start kissing the side of my face, I felt that he had an erection. And I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. I just got up and I ran out of the house, and I got in my car. He only chased me to the front door, but I got out of the house. He didn't chase me out of the house at all. And I just got in the car and I left. And I didn't tell anyone. I was just scared. Sure. And with him, he was a different person to me. He was very intimidating, and the fact that he made everyone love him, and he made everyone laugh and be so happy around him, I knew that if I said anything, he would just deny.
And then finally, her parents find out about it, and they confront George. And George just simply says, "I'm sorry," and leaves.
Does it count if he admitted it?
Did he admit it to you? Is that what you're saying, or?
Oh, well, yeah, my parents were there. My parents found out, and they confronted him and his parents about what had happened, and they wanted to get together and talk about it, because I think that they just didn't believe it. He is that way. He makes himself look so good that they were in shock. They had no idea, and I never told them the depths of it. I told them, I don't want to talk about it, just forget it. So
when did this happen?
2005.
2005. Tell me a little bit, go into a little bit more detail about that. You said your parents found out and confronted them.
My sister told them after I told her that night. And she said that she told them she had to tell my dad. And she said she didn't know what else to do. And I was so afraid. And I've always been afraid of him.
So then what happens next in the sequence of that?
We went to a restaurant. It was the Uno in Lake Marion at the time.
Okay.
My parents, my mom and my dad.
Okay.
And they told him, we need to talk about this.
They told who?
George.
George, okay.
And instead of talking about it, all he did was come in the restaurant. He sat down on the end of the booth and said, "I'm sorry," and just got up and walked out. And my parents, their jaws dropped. My dad wanted to go get him, but my mom she's seen cases like this get dropped all the time because she said, and all he has to do is deny it. So she said, it's not worth it. It's not. You'll be in jail and he'll be free and nothing will happen. So we just
let it go at there. Do you know if his parents were ever brought into it, though? I mean, did your parents? They knew. What makes you think that?
My parents told them. Mm-hmm. My dad told them. But they never said anything to me.
Okay.
They never once addressed it, but everybody knew. Ever since then, any get-together we have, Georgie's never there. He's never invited. They always will try to appease me before him. I just felt like that was so cheap. Instead of saying that they were sorry or talking to me about it, they just brushed it under the rug.
Okay.
Pretended it never happened. But I don't know if they ever knew the details. My parents didn't.
So now you know why George Zimmerman doesn't talk to his family and his family doesn't talk to him. Remember, I kept telling you that everybody understood who was interested in this case that George Zimmerman and his family were estranged. Him and his mother were estranged. They did not speak to each other and hadn't for years. And none of the family members have spoken to George Zimmerman since this verdict. Perhaps this is why.
I asked you if you had made an anonymous call to Sanford Police Department in reference to George Zimmerman, and you had indicated yes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you elaborate a little bit on what that call was about?
Just that I was afraid that he had done something because the kid was black.
Okay.
Because growing up, they've always him and his family have always made statements that they don't like black people if they don't act like white people. They like black people if they act white. And other than that, they talk a lot of bad things about black people.
By they and family, who are you meaning?
Him, his brother, his sister, his mom, his dad.
Okay. And again, just so we're clear, him is
George
Zimmerman. Yeah. George Zimmerman. And just be a little clearer on why you're saying that the family is racial.
His mother protested it very loud that I was working at. I was doing, and somebody was talking about Obama, and I said, "Oh yeah, did you hear about that?" And she asked what, and I said, something to do with Obama, and we were talking about it, and she said, "I don't like Obama." I said, "Why not?" Just thinking she was joking, and she said, "Because he is black. I am a racist." Just loud and proud. And in the middle of, and I have a black girl that works right behind me, and I'm like, what are you just, let's go. And I just swept her kind of into the back of her. But I just could not believe that she sat there so loud and proud saying that she was a racist.
What about George? Has he ever said anything specific that made you feel he was racist?
I can't remember growing up exactly anything, but I know that's just a known thing, that's how their family feels.
So George Zimmerman's mother knows that her son was molesting a cousin, which is either her sister or her brother's daughter. And she is a self-proclaimed loud and proud racist who went into this girl's workplace, and the girl said something about, did you hear about something Obama did? And she said, I don't like him. Why? Because he's black. I'm a racist. Now, this girl also says that that Zimmerman objected to her dating black men in the past. Family members did as well. And in another FBI interview in April with Zimmerman's former girlfriend, the one who got the restraining order against him because he hit her, she indicates that she told the FBI agents investigating the case that Zimmerman's mother, who's from Peru, quote, talked about marrying into white families in order to improve one's status. Now, you know Zimmerman's father is white. The FBI report states that the former girlfriend said she didn't get along with George Zimmerman's mother and, quote, did not think that she approved of the girlfriend because her mother was Puerto Rican and her father was from Argentina. She told investigators that while it was never said explicitly, she, quote, felt Zimmerman's mother wanted him to marry a white woman, though she said Zimmerman came to her defense on one occasion when she got into an argument with his mother, and in that instance, Zimmerman, quote, turned off the electricity to his mother's house and then left his mother's house, leaving her without electricity. He's a lovely person. Let's give him back his gun. In fact, let's do one better. A Florida gun store, because all of the evidence is being held, including the gun, for the Department of Justice's civil rights inquiry. So Zimmerman can't get his gun back. So a Florida gun shop said, hey, George, we'll give you a free gun. And he didn't even have to listen to anything, a pitch about timeshares. Hey, we'll just give you a gun. 48 after.
Randi Rhodes.
Fearless. Honest. Real. This is the Randi Rhodes Show.
You're listening to 540 AM, your progressive prescription.
Geico has various discounts to help you save even more money on your car insurance. Good driver, multi-car, even a discount for being a good student, which is an incentive for your teenagers to get good grades. And if they get good grades, they might get a good job and possibly become rich. Then they could pay for your car insurance. What a brilliant idea.
For a free rate quote, visit geico.com to see how much you could save. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Sometimes in life, you just get lucky. Like when you slide into a rock star parking spot or get a great table at that hot new restaurant. But luck won't protect you from identity theft. And that's why Identity Guard offers top-rated identity theft protection for less than $1 a day. Act now and get free protection for your kids, the latest targets for identity thieves. Get it now for less than $1 a day at IdentityGuard.com/dollar. That's IdentityGuard.com/dollar.
Guys, you've heard about Ageless Male, the natural supplement that helps boost free testosterone levels. But now, the best testosterone product is even better, because for a limited time, you can try Ageless Male free. That's right. Call now, and you can boost your free testosterone levels with Ageless Male for free. You only pay shipping and handling. Just call 1-800-497-9587. Ageless Male can help you feel more like you used to in your active life. and in your romantic life. Because our formula has been clinically shown to increase your drive, desire, and performance. If you're ready to recapture that drive from your youth, now is the time to try Ageless Male. With this free bottle giveaway, you must call now because this free offer is for a limited time only. Just call 1-800-497-9587. 1-800-497-9587. 1-800-497-9587.
Want to see real change in your neighborhood? Voting for Obama was important, but upgrading your home to clean solar energy is the next step. Federal incentives have made it free for homeowners. You heard that right. Altera Solar will install your solar system for no cost. Call 831-425-2608 for more information or find us online at alterasolar.com. We also install electric car charging stations. Power your home and car with Altera Solar. Altera Solar, local solar power.
Hi, this is Peter Casey, your new and pre-owned automobile consultant at Butts Cadillac Chevrolet in the Seaside Auto Center. No matter how far out of town you go, you won't find better prices or service. Family-owned Butts Cadillac Chevrolet has been selling great vehicles to Central Coast residents and beyond for over a century. From the brand new Volt Car of the Year to the latest luxury SUV from Cadillac, you will be treated like family. We have a relaxed atmosphere with no high-pressure sales tactics. Our goal is to work for you in finding just the right vehicle that fits your wants and needs. So experience the Butts difference with me, your friend in the car business, Peter Casey. Visit us in the Seaside Auto Center or call me anytime at 831-521-3961. That's 831-521-3961. Don't forget to mention you heard this ad on KRXA. Call me, Peter Casey, at 521-3961.
Hi, it's Carell, and the gold standard in technology these days is Apple. Whether it's the iPad, the iPod, their laptops, or their towers, Apple is now the gold standard. But it doesn't have to cost you a ton of gold. No, you can get a great Apple product, new, used, or refurbished, and trade up your old one at PowerMax. PowerMax.com. PowerMax.com. Give them a call right now at 888-769-7629. That's 888-769-7629, and tell them Carell sent you.
Make your voice heard. Call 866-87-RANDY. Now, back to Randy Rhodes.
Why have you decided to come forward now? Not that that's wrong. I mean, I don't want you to think that at all. I think that's good. But what has led you to come forward to us now?
This is the first time in my life that I'm not afraid of him. I know that nothing can get to me. He can't get to me. I mean, if I saw him on the street or if I saw him anywhere, it would just make me break down in tears. But now, with everything going on, I know he's not going to be out in public. I can't, I won't go to Target and see him anymore. I'm not afraid of him now.
Okay.
Because she thought he was going to jail. This is amazing. They bring in a neighbor girl to testify to his character, but they don't allow witness number 9 to testify about his character. Where was the prosecution on the rebuttal case? The idea that they were, the last two witnesses were supposed to be David Lee, who was a Florida Department of Law Enforcement special agent who knew about witness number 9, and Arthur Fleischman, the arresting officer in 2005, when George Zimmerman was arrested for resisting arrest with violence against a police officer. And the prosecution just laid down and did not call these last two witnesses. I find this completely, gag-inducing. I got to say. I mean, vomit is like I would projectile vomit if I find out one more thing about how they blew this. I told you, they're on that 911 tape, the 311 tape, actually. I kept saying, he doesn't sound right. There's something wrong with this guy. There is something wrong with him. Who calls 911 60, 50 times? One time he called 911 for a 9-year-old black kid. A 9-year-old. Oh, my God. All right. Raina in L.A.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
You know, I am so upset about this whole situation that I'm really going to try not to yell, but I just think that there is a code of silence in the Justice Department, just like there is in the police department, that just rips everybody's guts out. Because, you know, I had a situation where I got into an accident with a kid who just, you know, bulleted out of a driveway backwards, hit the side of my car.
Right.
And the policeman didn't give him a ticket. And I couldn't figure out why. He was totally at fault. I was stopped because I was waiting for the light to change in front of me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand it. So the insurance company says, well, why didn't the guy get a ticket? And I said, I don't know. So, you know, this was in my 20s, so I went to the courthouse because I was going to fight it. And as soon as I went up to the bailiff and I showed him the ticket, and he said, oh, this is Judge so-and-so's son. And as soon as the words came out of his mouth, he realized what he had said.
Right.
So the judge would not call him in or anything like that. The case got dismissed, and I just let it go because I realized at that point that this wasn't going to happen.
Right. Yeah, it's who you know.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show on the Premier Radio Networks.